Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising today to request an emergency debate on Stellantis' plan to shift production from its plant in Brampton, Ontario, to Illinois, and what this means for Canadian workers, communities, and our very economic independence.
What if I told you that Stellantis could fix its Canadian problem, give Dodge affordable performance, and actually make money all in one move? Because Stellantis is catching heat in Canada after shifting the Jeep Compass program originally for Unifor and Brampton over there in Canada and moved it over to Belvedere back in the United States. So what do you send back to Canada that keeps Unifor happy, excites customers, and prints profit for Stellantis and stuff? And I'm kind of reminded of something that TK's Garage floated a while ago, and it's still a very great idea. Bring back the previous generation Challenger and Charger as classic models.
Mr. Speaker, it was shocking to hear news of Stellantis' betrayal. And make no mistake, this is a betrayal. It's a betrayal of the thousands of workers who are directly involved and the thousands more indirectly so. And it's a betrayal of both provincial and federal governments and taxpayers who had supported Stellantis in exchange for an explicit commitment to manufacture vehicles in Brampton. This decision will have major repercussions across the country. Our economy is under attack. Donald Trump has been clear that he wants to hurt our economy and extort companies to shift production from Canada to the United States. We cannot let that happen. Notre économie.
Our economy is threatened. Donald Trump has clearly said that he wants to hurt our economy and force businesses to delocalize their production from Canada to the United States. We cannot let this happen.
We already have record unemployment, particularly among young people. We have a jobs crisis. These attacks will only make life harder for workers and for families. And as Unifor President Lana Payne said last week, if Stellantis can get away with this after making a direct pledge to government, what's stopping the next corporation? This Prime Minister was elected on a commitment to stand up to Donald Trump. But instead, we have seen concessions and a piecemeal approach which has led directly to Stellantis' decision. It is imperative that parliamentarians be afforded an opportunity to discuss this attack and to discuss how to mobilize all available resources to meet the threat we face. Workers and communities, Mr. Speaker, deserve no less. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Okay, well, over 53,000 friends and the 56% of you guys who watch my videos on a daily basis and haven't helped a butter out by trying to subscribe to the channel yet, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers and I can't get there without your help. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, find a little hype button, because sometimes YouTube puts like a hype button on these videos and stuff for creators under 100,000 subscribers and stuff. So help a butter out, find those buttons, and let's get right into this video, because I find it very hypocritical for this dude from Canada. They would be crying, oh, Orange Man bad and Stellantis all evil and stuff because they move production out of our country and stuff. I mean, you guys had no problem stealing American jobs, well, putting people out of work and threatening the Detroit economy and stuff. Y'all had no problem doing that crap right there. But now that when jobs are coming back to America for a company that's headquartered in America, that they don't really even sell that many vehicles in Canada, now all of a sudden it's a problem and stuff, right? Then y'all dickheads was trying to go a few years ago and shove all the electric vehicles down those companies' throats and stuff. And now all of a sudden when they, stop all that nonsense and go revert back to gas vehicles, now all of a sudden it's a problem. So when y'all do it to them, it's not a problem. But when they do it back to you, now all of a sudden it's evil, Orange Man bad, and yada, yada, yada. I just see how the game is played, because hey, they just took a very big L with the biggest hypocrite, Bill Gates, talking about climate change ain't gonna do nothing to nobody and stuff. And we should basically be focused our efforts on better things that's actually gonna change people's lives. But I'll just leave it there. But this right here is still a problem that Stellantis does face with Canada Unifor, because at the end of the day, they did sign on a dotted line and did give commitments to Canada to put a model there at Brampton. And so I don't take that lightly. And there are some of you guys who watch my videos from Canada and stuff, and who are actually fans of mine from Canada. So I don't want to leave out to dry too. So what can Stellantis do in order to satisfy pretty much everybody? Because you got to satisfy Canada with a decent model that's going to make decent sales. You got to satisfy Stellantis' bottom line because they got to make money on a product, because this is not like the same EV nonsense that you're basically getting all these extra subsidies and crap in the background while losing money on these EVs and stuff. So the government no longer paying you subsidies. So whatever model goes to Brampton has to work. And then thirdly, you got to basically satisfy American customers, because over here in America, we are by far the #1 market. If you don't do well in America, you are literally SOL as a global company. So that's what had me thinking. And that's why I'm going like, I immediately thought the TK Garage's video that he made a few months ago, that there was discussions that maybe to bring back the Challenger and Charger as classic models.
Well, I just got some information in, and it matches up with the executive sources. So the executive sources said that there would be changes, significant changes to the older platform. And so a lot of stuff from Brampton that should have been destroyed or scrapped was moved. And they moved it to Belvedere. I wonder why that is. I was like, all right. And then I had other workers hit me up that said, hey, I got something weird. They're like, we're making interior parts that look like they're for the Charger, but they have a different model code or whatever it is on it. And they're like, maybe it's for the SRT Charger or whatever. And they sent the code, and I ran it up the flagpole to my executive source. And he said, no, that's for a test, because they said that the parts that they made, they only made enough for 12 vehicles. He said, that's for a test mule.
So you've seen that, you heard that. That's a pretty good idea that Dodge could basically float to make Challenger and Chargers as classic models to kind of bridge the gap between the old school modern Challenger Chargers that we once loved and this new Charger that not everybody's in love with. Because the main problem with the new Charger is it is way too expensive. The cheapest version is almost, well, basically it's $50,000 out the door, or 51 depending on tax, title, and tags and all that stuff right there. So why not make a classic version of the previous Challenger and Charger and start them off around that $30,000 to $35,000 range, and you have a long $10,000 to $20,000 gap to fill in, and that's where your bread and butter was with XXT cars. I mean, majority, I think it was what, 55% of all Challenger Charger sales was XXTs and stuff. So why not bring back the SXTs as classics, bring the volume back to Dodge, get the money in their pockets, satisfy Unifor, satisfy the Canadian government that there's a volume vehicle back at Brampton, and basically satisfy us, giving us more than what we want, and satisfy Stellantis and putting money back in their pockets and stuff. And so I think this is a great idea, and it's something they should explore doing. And I mean, even then, with just making just classic versions of these vehicles and stuff, I mean, heck, they can go and say, hey, look, we're gonna make 1,000 runs or 2,000 392s, and we're gonna make 1,000, 2,000 runs of Hellcats, 1,000, 2,000 runs of Red Eyes. Like, we're gonna keep doing like these little special edition batches and stuff over the next 4 to 5 years. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then they could also do it where they can like update the actual electronics in the cars. I mean, I would love to see my Demon 170, for example, have a more modern version of the radio and stuff in the car. I mean, it's not like they got to really reinvent the wheel and stuff. According to TK, I mean, they moved a lot of this stuff over to another plant anyway, so it shouldn't be that hard to move stuff back, set up stamping and stuff. Everybody who worked at that Unifor plant in Brampton, they're already familiar with making that car, so why not make it again and make it to where it's going to bring excitement back to Dodge. Dodge going to have cheaper previous cars, exciting, powerful, newer cars, and bridge them together. Who was at my front door? Okay, I'm back now. So I think essentially that they go make a classic version of the Challenger and the Charger, or either one of them. I think honestly a classic version of the Challenger might work pretty well, but a Charger would do as well too. Not necessarily everybody need like as the new car as big as it is. But if they go and take the old cars and do some minor tweaks to it and stuff, maybe retrofit in like a heads-up display so you can actually see your speedometer going down the road and stuff, maybe upgrade the radios and stuff so they look a little bit better. Hell, maybe add a digital cluster in that can be retrofitted to the older cars. I mean, you never know. I mean, go and add better quality cameras in there. I think there's some pretty cool opportunities for them to make a classic version of the Challenger and Charger while still allowing it to have situations where some of these parts can be retrofitted to the older cars. They kind of take care of both sides of the spectrum. People who like the classic design is going to collect those cars and sit on them for a long period of time, and people who also still want to have a new version of their older car and still want to have some updated changes to it, right? Because I mean, these cars have been around for 16 years. I mean, they can go and do some changes and updates, tweaks to them and stuff. They can still support this wide spectrum of cars, and I think that'd be a very great idea. Because even then, it doesn't have any stop there. Because like I said, they can go make limited runs of 392s, Hellcats, Red Eyes. They can make Daytonas. They can go make crazy special editions that they didn't even thought of that they wanted to in the first place. They can go make a ACR Challenger that they said they wasn't going to make and stuff. They can go make new interior pieces that we can retrofit to our older cars. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do, and I'm like, especially with how SRT is going to be repositioned as them being their own division, they can come up with their own mad scientist type stuff. Why not go and take a Challenger and Charger, a previous version? I'm pretty sure they got a few lying around, especially as test cars. Go back into the laboratory, go do some changes to those cars, and then allow people to come and actually retrofit their older cars with some of these newer parts. And that way, like I said, they can actually support newer runs of classic runs, and then they can hopefully go and support the older cars with people to keep them updated for necessary people who can't necessarily really afford the newer cars. But that's basically what I gotta say in this video, and I think that this will be a great idea to basically satisfy everybody. Give us cheaper versions of the old cars that we know and love. Hopefully come out with some parts that we can retrofit to our older cars, satisfy Canada, and give them a run of volume vehicles that's going to basically meet budget restraints that some people have, and still print money for Stellantis on both sides of the spectrum, the aftermarket, previous cars, and new cars going forward. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Should Dodge consider making Challenger and Charger classics? Should those new classic versions of these vehicles retrofit into older vehicles that we have? That way we can keep updating the stuff. Or do you guys think they should go and make a whole brand new model at Brampton, something that we haven't seen before? Because one model that I think would be a good fit at Brampton will probably be the new Duster that Dodge has talked about making. And the new Duster will be a $30,000 sports car, but we'll have to see whether or not or what that vehicle is going to look like. But if you want to check out a video I made about the new Duster, you can check it out right here. Until the next time, hopefully I get my voice back for the next video, and I'll see you the next time.